Hey guys. Hey guys, welcome back to Out of Left Field. Graham and Chris back here with you. It has been the most glorious of weekends as baseball is back. Got a loaded show for you today. The unwritten rules of baseball have been broken again. Somebody said, although we're not so sure that this rule that's unwritten has been written in the unwritten book. We'll get to that here in just a second. The Phillies had a very odd opening series. Is there a concern in Philly about Gabe Kapler? Plus, the New York Mets have said they want to lead the league this year in a very interesting statistic. Plus, we will finally finish our breakdowns. Yes, I know we're already into the new year, but get over it. All right, we had Dale Scott on last week. We didn't get a chance to do the breakdowns. We're going to do it today. It's the AL West. Shocker. The Astros are going to win it. Sorry to be a spoiler alert. It's just what it is. Let's put the ball in play on this show, the first official show of 2018, the regular season of baseball. And Chris, before we really get into baseball stuff, I feel the need to enlighten you. You have a young daughter, not quite at the full two-hand stage of ages, hasn't reached 10 yet, but getting close to some, making it into the middle school, high school, some of the dumb stuff people do. Now, I know that she is not going to be partaking in some of the dumb crap that we see. And granted, some of the dumb crap is funny crap, right? The Tide Pod Challenge, not so much. But to be fair, that is so January. There's a new challenge. There's a new challenge that is out there. And do you, Chris Furry, yet know what the new challenge is?
Well, I've been out of school for about a week now, so I don't know what the new challenge is. It must have been something that came along while I was on vacation there in Indy.
It might be. I want you to say hello to the condom snorting challenge.
Oh, good. At least it's as stupid as it sounds.
You are to snort the condom through your nose, give it a bit of a cough, and pull said condom out through your mouth.
Oh, God. There are some days when my students make passionate, logical pleas to be treated as adults and functioning members of society. And then, in one fell swoop, they prove to me not only are they not ready to be functioning members of society, not quite ready to even be functioning.
So,
how about that?
I felt compelled to kind of bring that out there to you. I wanted you to understand.
No, yeah, thanks for crapping me out for the rest of the day. I'm not going to spend the rest of the day depressed or anything.
I don't want you to feel that way at all. I just, I want to make sure that, that we're good. Now, let's get into the baseball side of things. So, it has not been the best week if you're playing in certain cities, like, say, San Diego, or Kansas City. Kansas City not really having the best week. Salvador Perez, perennial all-star catcher, a one of the best catchers in the game, I think, definitely top 5, suffered a grade 2 MCL tear in his left knee because he slipped while carrying his luggage. Now, you told me that, and my response to you was, but spring training has ended. The odd injuries are no more. No, damn it, they are still existing. And they are biting the Royals right where it counts, in the knee.
Yeah, it's going to be rough. I mean, this is a hard loss for any team, but for a Royals team that's not predicted to do particularly well anyway, this is going to be, I don't want to say season impacting, but you got to think it's not going to help their season much. I mean, not that much is going to help their season much.
It's a lot of muches. When I heard this, my first thought was, well, I wonder who Mike Moustakas is going to go to at the deadline. I mean, I hate to say it, but that is where, that's right where my head went. The Royal. I mean, ironically enough, we hadn't really done too much digging yet in the standings. I get it's early, but the first two teams we said haven't had the best year so far. The Padres are 0-3, the Royals are 0-3, and the Reds are 0-3. So we're pretty much kind of on point with our predictions so far. Are we? Is it one of those where we're 3 or 4 games in, depending on where you're playing. But at the end of I hate to say it, but that was my first thought: is okay. Well, now we know Moustakas is going to be on that team-friendly deal. I wonder who's really going to be able to use him. It's for a team that needs a bat. The Indians won't be that team because they already have a third baseman unless he gets hurt. But I can think of a couple of teams who might be looking for an extra bat in that DH spot coming down the bend. That
as long as he
might make help, be helpful.
As long as he hires somebody to carry his luggage, the Indians should be fine.
But Salvador Perez got hurt. Moustakas is not the one.
No, I know, but you said the Indians have a third baseman as long as he doesn't get hurt, and as long as he hires somebody to carry his luggage, they should be fine.
True.
It's an interesting question because I think you're right. I think Mike Moustakas has to go somewhere at the trade deadline, especially with Salvi Perez out. That's probably, any glimmer of hope that the Royals had at the beginning of the season is probably snuffed with this Salvador Perez injury. I really don't think that the Royals are. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say dumb enough, but dumb enough to trade in somebody in their own division. Although the White Sox still have a strong minor league system, even though they've gotten rid of a lot of players in their minor league system. They got a whole bunch of them back recently, a whole bunch of really strong players back in the minor league in their lower levels, and the Royals are looking for stuff like that. And if you're out and going into a rebuild, and the White Sox might be willing to give up some of that young talent that they've gotten back from some of their big name guys, the Quintanas and not and the Sales, then why not make a move like that? Why not send him to Chicago and let Chicago maybe make a run at the Twins for number 2 in this division?
Well, that's the key. How good will the White Sox be? Obviously, Dave Robertson has decided that he wants the White Sox to be good and be a powerful team, as he hit 3 home runs on opening day, and I think that's a good time. Let's move on into opening day, man. The Perez thing. It's not, obviously it's a minute tear, not going to be bad. He'll be back here in a couple of weeks, and we have obviously several months before we see who's going to really need to be the movers and shakers when it comes to the deadline. But opening day was okay. In all fairness, in the interest of full disclosure, I sinned. Okay, forgive me, furry, for I have sinned. It has been 31 years since I ever went to opening day, meaning never until this year. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go see the Rays playing the Red Sox. Going to be Chris Archer, going to be Chris Sale, going to be fun. It was a great game. Got there right as Eduardo Nunez had his inside the park home run, because getting into that stadium was a pain, by the way. And we're good. The Sox are scoring. Didn't see any out of the park long balls. I'm like, man, we got a 2.5, 3-hour ride home. Getting out of Tampa across the bay is a pain in the keister. Told my wife, let's go ahead and scoot. It's the middle of the 8th inning. It's 4-0. The Rays were getting 1 hit. Honestly, what's going to happen? Well, I found out that my answer was that the Red Sox bullpen would implode, that they would give up a 4-0 lead, and Denard Span would hit a bases-clearing triple to put the Rays up 6-4, who would subsequently go on to win the game that I left. So, I will ask you, Father Furry, what is my penance?
Well, you're going to have to
work with you for the year?
Pete.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah, you're gonna have to quote. You're gonna have to quote the speech from Field of Dreams 3 times.
The James Earl Jones speech.
The James Earl Jones speech from Field of Dreams 3 times, and then make it absolutely put it on your calendar to go to opening day next year, and stay until the end of the 9th inning.
But see, I feel like the speech would have been better if the Sox had come back and taken a lead and then blown it again, because then I really could have said, it's roll on like an army of steamrollers. It's been erased like a blackboard, built up and erased again. Like it would have been so much more fitting had the Red Sox come back from the lead and lost it again, but it didn't quite work out that way.
But listen, we've had this conversation. I live an hour and 45 minutes away from my closest ballpark. You and I have made that drive now, 2-3 times?
Yeah.
To fix. It's not fun, but I think one of the keys is that you don't pay the money it costs to go to a ball game and go to the park and then sit there for most of the game and then take off. I've never been able to do that because I've already had your experience where I've left an important game because I thought, this is in the bag. And I get into my car in the parking lot and everything already changed. So I stay until the end. I always have and I always will. If it's 9 innings or 19 innings, I'm going to be there at the ball.
And I will give credit. The ingress and egress out of Chase Field is much nicer than trying to get in and out of Tropicana Field. It is a nightmare trying to get around St. Petersburg. And that's the thing. I mean, I'm with you. I was kind of torn, not wanting to go and then wanting to go. The main reason we stayed through the middle of the 8th is because I knew JD Martinez had one more at bat, and I wanted to see what he would do. And we were more there to watch the Sox. My wife's a Red Sox fan, and I just wanted to see a decent game. And actually, I'm going to stop a second. I'm going to take you behind. We're going to go behind the mask. I know we haven't been there in a while, and it's coming back now. It's we're going to be behind the mask quite a bit today. But I'm going to tell you something crazy that I saw. A mechanic I've never seen happen in a 4-man crew. So Jeff Nelson was the crew chief. It was Laz Diaz at first, Andy Fletcher at second, and Manny Gonzalez at third. I know it said I know that. We already discussed that with Dale last week, that I follow those guys more than most players. So I think it was Mookie Betts was on first, and a line drive hit to right. And for some reason, Betts got himself a little bit too far off of first, and the catch was kind of bobbled, but it was made, and they threw back to double him off at first. Well, here's the crazy thing about the mechanic, the way that it works is because the ball's hit to right, and with the runner on, obviously the second base umpire is inside, right? He's in the infield part of the grass, which is where he goes once you have a runner on base. Because the ball's hit to right, Laz actually turns his back to go out, to get a couple of steps out for the call, or if there's a fair foul issue, more so to make sure the ball's caught, not bobbled, that kind of thing. Well, because he turned his back, he now abdicates any responsibility at first to Jeff Nelson. So Jeff Nelson now, who is trailing the batter runner coming towards first, now has to pick up his horse, because as the throw comes in from right field to try and hose Betts at first, it was offline, pulling the first baseman into foul territory, who then had to come back to the bag, stepped on it just prior to Betts getting back in, and Jeff Nelson makes the out call. Now, I know that everyone's like, who the hell cares? But as an umpire watching the dance, and for Laz to have really only gotten maybe turned around and taken one step, So you basically have two guys on top of the same bag. For them to know with almost no verbal communication of Laz just kind of just hang back and let Jeff make the call. There's no double call, no confusion. It's just, you talk about them being a third team. They really are, and they do so much nonverbal communication, just knowing where to be. It was a really cool thing to see.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you see, I think in any, whether it's sports or whether it's an officiating, anytime you see somebody do their job and they do it precisely, and I think that's fun to watch.
Which is why,
I mean, I completely understand.
To be fair, is why I'm really nervous putting us on video, because I mean everyone's going to have to watch you do this job, and I mean, like you just said, I mean,
yeah, but I mean, I'll have my meat sticks, so.
Jerky. You'll have a jerky stick. You'll have a jerky stick.
Yeah, it's a meat stick.
It is.
It says Tillamook County Smoker meat stick. That's what it says. Actually, it says beef stick, so I apologize.
Now, on that game, and I know we're kind of free-forming it here, but remember I called you about something else interesting that I saw in that game when it came to pace of play?
Yeah. You finally saw pace to play adjudicated.
Yeah, so, which I guess will kind of take us into our next, our next part of opening weekend. So, I believe it was Christian Vasquez was the starting catcher for the Red Sox, and Nelson told him, "Hey, last pitch," and pitch comes in from Sale, and Vasquez throws it back to Sale to give him one more warm up. And you saw Nelson go in there and say, I said last pitch. And he walks over to the dugout, and he pulls Alex Cora out. Now, nothing was egregious. There was no yelling, but it was pretty much a, hey, I told him last pitch. We're not going to start doing this. Pitch goes down at this point. Batter's in the box at this point. Let's go. It never became an issue. You saw Vasquez and Nelson have a quick conversation that was very civil in nature. Nothing became an issue of it, but it was kind of interesting to see, hey, I told you to throw it down. You didn't, and it's one of those, he could have gone ahead and just said, okay, well, you're not throwing it down, which kind of throws off everyone's rhythm. He let him throw it down, but he did make it a point to pull Cora out and kind of give him the warning of, hey, let's move this along, let's do it the right way, and there was no issue after that. Yet we go one state north of me, and yeah, pace of play and warm-up pitches became quite a bit of an issue in Atlanta, where Gabe Kapler seems to be very uncomfortable the first series that he's managed in the big leagues in the regular season. I think you would agree on that, my friend?
I don't know that uncomfortable is the right word. I think inept might be a better word.
Out of his depth?
Sure. Treading water with weights on his ankles.
SEAL training.
Sure. SEAL training for SEALs with broken legs.
So, all right, let's talk about this. So, Gabe Kapler, we were both surprised by the hiring. Now, he has managed a Class A farm team. Don't know for how long, don't know how well. So, opening day, the Phillies have a 5-0 lead against the Braves. I mean, just good start. And Kapler pulls his starter in what I believe was the 6th inning, if I recall correctly. Now, that seems right, pretty okay. What's wrong with that, right? I mean, it's just
sure.
Yeah, but Aaron Nola had only thrown 68 pitches in a shutout. So when I saw Chris Sale going into the 80s, near 90. And we'll bring up the Red Sox bullpen here in just a second. I found it very surprising that Kapler would pull Nola in his opening day start at only 68 pitches. It just didn't seem logical. But okay, get him out of there. He's moving along. Maybe the the Braves really don't seem to be seeing the ball well. They're not hitting very well. No big deal. Well, it's no big deal until all of a sudden the bullpen blows a lead. Nick Markakis gets his first walk-off home run of his career. The Braves went 8-5, and now, okay, maybe some analytical things, kind of an odd one, but we're kind of questioning you, but we'll hold judgment.
Let's see where this is headed.
Right. So then day 2 rolled around, and apparently Kapler has taken a page out of the 2012 Boston Red Sox handbook. There must be beer in the clubhouse, because she said, hey, hold my beer. It's day 2.
Huh.
Phillies getting their brains blown out. It's just one of the, it was a 15-2 final. So he goes to pull his starter in the 3rd with nobody warming up in the bullpen. Nobody warming up in the bullpen. And this is after he already pulled Nola last game. He didn't start center fielder Odubel Cabrera over what he said was, quote, a lineup, strategy play. Basically, this is just one game, but he felt there was a match. It fit the matchup to not have him start. Which Herrera and Michael Franco are 2 of the top players that team is investing in. So he goes into day 2 and doesn't have a pitcher ready.
Yeah, and you have to. Well, do you have to cut him some slack for being a rookie manager? I think you do, because I don't think I've ever seen this out of a rookie manager. I don't think I've ever seen even a first-year manager go pull his starter without having had his pitching coach call down to the bullpen and get a guy up and throw it. I don't think that happens. I can't remember a time in Major League Baseball when I've seen it happen. That's not Bush League. That's Little League.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Oh, you're right. They do warm up the pitch in Little League. My bad.
It was one of those.
It was so bad.
Aaron Boone had the same thing happen to him in spring training, and it was an embarrassment. But hey, it's spring training. I was wrong. I messed up. I understand. And we haven't seen that. We've seen some bullpen issues, some Dylan Betances issues. Different story. But, you have this long, drawn-out mound meeting. Greg Gibson, the third base umpire, has to go all the way out, almost to the bullpen, to bring in the reliever, and Jerry Lane gave him 5 pitches. Now, he is supposed to, I think, just get his, basically just get his 8 pitches, and he gets the mound, takes his 8, and there he goes. And basically what Jerry Lane said is that I'm not going to get somebody hurt. And I understand he was put in a rock in a hard spot. Let's be honest here. And this brings us behind the mask for the second time already. He was. Because yes, I understand the letter of the rule, but it's the fact that, okay, he's trying to bring in this, Hobie Milner. They're already down 5-2, and the idea was, okay, I at least want to get his shoulder warm. Well, throwing 95 cold on the second day of the year, do you really want to run the risk of being the umpire who's like, nope, this is the rule? Then the guy throws his shoulder out. He was given no room to really win. I get what the rule says, but I'm curious, coming from someone who does manage, and I get you, it's high school, I'm not trying to, but it's a different game, and obviously, you think it's kids, safety first. But as someone who's played, and as someone who does manage a pretty damn good high school for where you're at, who has top players, some good prospects, and has I know state tournament expectations every year. I'm curious where you would be on this, in the way that Brian Sitker was angry and obviously got ejected. But what's your take from a skipper's perspective? I've never had that perspective. I'd love it to have one, but I haven't had the chance to do that yet.
Well, if I'm Brian Snicker, I want the advantage of having this adjudicated by the book, obviously. If I'm Brian Snicker, I want them to say, well, time is up. We need to be playing baseball right now. So get on the mound and start throwing pitches. If that means you don't throw at full speed your first 5 or 6, sorry. Your first 5 or 6 are going to be meatballs to the heart of my order. There's nothing I can do about it. That's the rule. But if I'm Kapler, or, not that I would ever be in that situation because I'm not stupid.
Chris Furry pulling no punches.
If I'm Kapler, I want Jerry Lane to say, no, he's going to get some pitches. I don't want him to get hurt. If I'm Milner, I definitely want the umpire to say, listen, I get you're being put into the middle of this. This is not your fault. Have some warm-up pitches, even if it's less than you're used to. Now, Milner did say later, quote, I was healthy going into the game. I'm healthy now. I feel fine. I wasn't sore going into the game or going in today. I told him I was ready to go. It was just a miscommunication that I didn't get as many warm-up pitches that would be ideal. Fortunately enough, I'm the kind of guy who can throw 8 pitches and be fine. End quote. Which, that's what you want. That's what Hobie Milner needs to be saying in the press. Right?
He's sticking up for his manager.
He's sticking up for his skipper.
And if anything, that's a good sign from inside that clubhouse. We don't know what the words are behind closed doors, but at least at its face to the media, he's backing up his young skipper.
Exactly. And that's exactly what he needs to be doing in the press. Now, behind closed doors, I guarantee you that they had a long talk about, hey, man, please don't put me in that situation again. If you want to come into a game, I'm down. I'll come into the game. I'll throw pitches. I'll strike guys out if that's what you need from me. But let me get some warm-up time. Maybe give me a warning. Maybe make sure I'm not sitting in a bullpen with my jacket on and a soda in my hand.
Yeah,
when the umpire comes and tells me I need to be throwing.
Milner had warmed up earlier. Well, that's great, Chief. But I mean, having a guy, do some soft toss. I don't think you're expecting to pick him up, at the third inning. But this story rather, never really caught my eye to the point that it did until I saw a headline saying that, basically that a MLB umpire rips team over pitching issue. And I'm like, what? So Jerry Lane, the crew chief, is they're accessible to reporters at the end of their games. I think we discussed that with Jerry Davis. Of course, guys, you can find all of our stuff on our social media pages at OO Left Field on Twitter, Out of Left Field with Chris and Graham on Facebook. Ton of our stuff there. Thank you all so much, by the way, for your love and appreciation for last week's show with Dale Scott. Got a lot of love. A huge boost once you guys kind of got a hold of it. Have some big league umpires who are actually giving the show a listen, which is pretty cool. A couple of guys I talked to saw the interview and were giving it a listen. So kind of cool that we had a couple of big leaguers, big league umpires listen to our show. And just massive thanks to Dale Scott. Great guy. I hope you guys enjoyed the interview as much as I did. I know, Chris, you didn't get a chance to be there, and hopefully next time you will. But Jerry Lane opened up to a pool reporter and said, quote, for whatever reason, the pitcher wasn't even getting ready. Who got crossed up? I'm not placing blame on anybody because I don't know. He just wasn't ready. Hadn't thrown a pitch. The last thing I want to do is get somebody hurt. It's already a messed up situation. Whoever's at fault on the Phillies side should have to answer to Major League Baseball. That line right there. Whoever is at fault on the Phillies side should have to answer to Major League Baseball. That is for an umpire who is trying to stay obviously as impartial, kind of out of the limelight as possible, to openly call out a ball club and say that whoever made this mistake, did whatever it was they did, or in this case didn't do, should have to answer to Major League Baseball is a huge thing. We understand that umpires can fine players. You throw your equipment, they can fine you instead of ejecting you if they so choose. But the fact that he actually said it was, jaw-dropping for me, And today, Sunday, the Phillies received a formal warning from Major League Baseball over manager Gabe Kapler's delay tactics in a loss in Atlanta. Now, that being because he goes out for the mound change. It's almost a minute 45 seconds of standing there kind of deliberating and brown thumbing it until he finally makes the motion, has Gibson run all the way to the bullpen trying to stall. So, yes, a warning came in. I don't think it was as much about him bringing in a guy dry like that. But, man, just to hear an umpire in the media, call out a team in that way, that really, really surprised the heck out of me.
Yeah, it's not something you hear from officials often, especially not in Major League Baseball. It's something you expect to hear more in, football, really. For an official to come out and directly say something about a team. But every once in a while, we run into one of these situations that's just mind-boggling. I get it. It's the first 3-4 games of the season. I get it. But one of these sort of confusing and mind-boggling situations that you don't see very often, and it's something egregious enough that even an official is like, listen, guys, we're not doing this, okay? I'm going to stop you right here. 3 games in, we're not doing this. This is unacceptable. This is how it's going to work. Figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, I like what Jerry did. Even Brian Snitker just said, I've never seen it before. I didn't really know how to act. And to their credit, both said, I wasn't mad at Jerry. I understood his side. Jerry Lane said that Snitker never cussed him. He was just arguing, didn't want to let it go, so he had to toss him. And I think Jerry pretty much knew that's what was going to have to happen. And I think both understood it. But it was just, like I said, just an odd situation. Leaning back into the bullpen side of this whole discussion from Game 1, I want to ask you a question, man. And I get, again, it is so easy to overreact, which, ironically enough, is one of the articles that just came out on the Grueling Truth today. I mean, let's be honest. What is it? It's the end of opening weekend. It's when we overreact to everything. I mean, this is the quintessential overreaction Monday. We get it obviously all the time in football, but why the hell shouldn't we have one? Tim Farmer, our buddy on the show, our guest co-host a couple of weeks ago, has that article out, and you'll be able to find it again on our Facebook page, Out of Left Field with Chris and Graham. I want to ask you a question on an overreaction. Should the Red Sox be worried?
I
get it was opening day, but that bullpen, the way that they imploded against a team like the Rays, and I could ask you the same question with the Dellin Betances struggles that he's having in New York. But should the Red Sox, should fans be concerned with that bullpen? Because what happened with that bullpen screamed something like Arizona Giants, something you know a little bit about. I saw that in the end of that game, and I'm not going to lie, it makes me concerned for that ball club going down the road. I get it's early, but I'm curious what your take is.
I think this is a little early in the season for them to get worried yet. If this is still happening in June, they need to figure something out, right? They need to get some arms in there by the trade deadline that can stop the bleeding. One thing I think the Red Sox should be worried about at this point, they are 3-1.
Did Sean Connery just make an appearance on the show?
He did. A brief one. One thing I think the Red Sox should be a little bit worried about right now is this is the team that we had earmarked as one of the teams that had the ability to be a dominant team in the league this year. You know, we thought that between them and the New York Yankees, that American League East is going to be a whole lot of fun to watch. There's going to be some exclamation point games going on, not only between those two teams, but just in that division in general.
Which I still think rings pretty true.
And yet, Boston has yet to have a truly decisive victory over even a team like the Rays. And yes, they took 3 of 4 from the Rays, but they did it in one-run games, all 3 wins. They went out and they got the 1-0 win on Friday, the 3-2 win on Saturday, and the 2-1 win against the Rays to close out that opening series yesterday. Thursday was the only day that they really were making a statement, right? Up 4-0, and then they blew it. I think that what they need to be worried about is, can this team make the kind of splash that the roster says it should be able to make in this division?
Well, I understand that. I get what you're saying. I don't know that I would be completely. I mean, to me, your point almost lends itself, I guess, to my question in the answer of, well, no. I mean, if a team like this early on in the year can win a couple of close ball games after the heartbreak of opening day and come back and win some one-run games with that bullpen closing things out, I almost wonder if that ends up. I mean, granted, yeah, you still have Craig Kimbrell. He's the best closer in the game. Behind, he and Kenley Jansen probably the top two, and obviously Jansen, I think ended up blowing one of them. I think he lost one this year already to a certain team out in your neck of the woods.
Not a blown save though. It was just a loss.
Just a loss. Okay.
Yeah, it was 0-0. So
I got you. So I think your point might lend itself more to the fact of saying that, no, I really just think that this club might have had a hiccup with the bullpen in one game, and now we see that, okay, yeah, we let one go. Right. Yeah, we cost Sale a win. Let's go ahead and pick it back up.
And the bats need to wake up. I agree completely. I think that's exactly what's going on with the Red Sox right now. The bats need to wake up. They've had some decisive wins late in spring training when they had their starting guys out there into the 6th and 7th inning of the game. They had one against the Astros just less than a week before the season started. The Saturday prior, they beat the Astros 6-0 when they still had starting 9 guys out there in the 6th and 7th inning. So I think this is a team that can make a splash. That them only being able to get one-run victories over the Rays is exactly the same kind of worry that they should have about their bullpen, which 4 games into the season is not much at this point. Again, if this is still happening,
right
in June, they need to start questioning some things.
And I'll be
I have
honest.
a question for you.
Sure, go ahead.
What the heck is Major League Baseball doing with interleague play?
What do you mean?
Why are we getting an opening series, 2 interleague games, and then back to division play?
Well, you have to open with interleague play. There's no way around it because you have 15 teams in each league now. We're uneven. Once the Astros moved, it set everything off kilter. So you have to have interleague play every day. Otherwise, you're gonna have 2 teams off every day.
I hate this, man. I hate it. Take me back to no interleague play.
Is my dad making a special appearance on the show I didn't know about?
Look, man, I don't.
I mean, there
as
is
much as I
something-
want to see the Red Sox beat up the Marlins.
There is something, and granted, interleague play shouldn't be. It's more. I get it. It's more important for the fans, For me, I'm lucky. I have an NL team 3.5 hours away and an AL team 2.5 hours away. With you, you have NL sitting there. So if you want to happen to see the Astros come play and they happen to play the Snakes, great, you get lucky. So I get why it
Which
is
I will this year.
It was okay.
Which I will this year. They are in the West this year.
So I get that for the fans, but there is something just kind of magical, kind of beautiful about two teams that have not seen each other all year. No, you might bump into each other in the All-Star game. Hey, a couple guys here, a couple guys there. But that staff and and these guys, they haven't seen each other all year. It's your first meeting. And, that's why I love the World Series, but I love the divisional series almost more, because if I'm chilling at work and I happen to be, when I was, if I was at school or, whenever I was working somewhere and had a TV, I could turn baseball on at 4 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the afternoon if it was a 4-top and we had, 2 games from each division going, or each league going, and I could watch baseball. There's nothing better. I'm sorry, I get you want to have ratings, but man, afternoon playoff baseball is just fun. It's just fun. I would love to see a World Series game played in the afternoon. It's not going to happen. But as an answer to your question, interleague unfortunately has to happen until we see the possibility of adding another ball club, which could happen if Las Vegas, if baseball wants to move a team there. We go to 31 teams, but then we have, you really need 2 more teams to.
I got to imagine that. I got to imagine that if there's an expansion, it's going to be to 32, not 31.
That's what I would assume. Montreal is trying to make the claim to get a team back. We'll touch more on that down the road as it goes. So, I guess the odd thing here is, as much as we're talking about, these bullpen issues and this and that, we're kind of leaving out the long ball. The long ball kind of, I won't say dominated opening day, but it certainly started opening day.
It absolutely started opening day.
Thank you for picking up what I was putting down right there for you, man.
It started the 2018 season with a literal bang. More of a crack. Ian Happ goes ahead and takes the first pitch of the 2018 season deep to right center field. And I mean deep.
Yeah.
He went ahead and started the season off with a long ball. I don't know if that means that we have an explosive season in store, but it's certainly been an explosive opening weekend.
Yeah, you got the 3 homers from Robertson in Chicago. And, man, I got to be honest, I love seeing how they've extended the netting in some ballparks. But, man, I really feel bad for the empty chair that caught that home run in Miami, because there was hardly anybody there. You were saying?
Did you hear about Marlins, man?
Yeah.
He offered the team. So I'm just going to go off on a quick tangent here because I just want to explain how greedy the new ownership actually is. And not to say that Marlins man doesn't have his own little bit of blame to be played here. But Marlins man has been sitting in those double diamond or 4 diamond seats behind.
Yeah.
They're right behind the plate seats.
It is everywhere. I mean, you see that guy at playoff games.
Well, most of the places where he gets tickets now in other parks and arenas are given to him. But he has had season tickets to those double diamond seats for 25 years.
Right. And he had an agreement with the prior ownership about how they would be renewed. Right.
He pays it 3 years at a time, $250 a ticket per seat per game. For all the home games, it's $200,000 a year, $244,000 for 3 years.
Right.
And he pays it all at once. He offered that same $250 per ticket per game to the current ownership and they turned him down, and now they came back with a counteroffer of $260 per ticket per game, which is basically just a slap in the face, right? $10 per ticket per game more, and you can have your seats. It's a difference of less than $10,000 for the 3 years. They refused his down payment check of $200,000 and have now severed ties with a fan who's probably more famous than any player on their team.
So I just saw this addendum to your story.
Sure.
Apparently the Detroit Tigers have started negotiating with Marlins man to now be Tigers man.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Big. That was he actually accepted offers from several teams, 5 I think it was, to be their guy, which is hilarious to me because that's probably more offers than the Marlins are going to get on any of their remaining talent.
Right.
So what they've done is they've taken their biggest asset and they've cut ties with him.
He is currently still on Twitter at Marlins_man. So, I mean, there is that. But yeah, I mean, I'm just, it's just another one of those crazy opening weekend things, man. The Ian Happ starts the 2018 season off with a long ball into an empty Marlins Park, and their number one fan isn't there because, for the same reason, though, the chair caught that home run ball. In fact, I think the grounds crew found that ball later. I feel like Marlins man. See, here's the thing, and I understand now why, as I was going to say this, it won't work, because this isn't a trade, this is a releasing. See, if this was a trade, Marlins man would become Yankees man because Derek Jeter would just trade him to the Yankees for, some crappy 98-year-old fan who's probably going to, stop coming to games in the next 3 months for some reason.
Probably Derek Jeter's mother.
Right. So, I understand that because, this isn't a trade, he won't do that. So I guess that would be, I was going to say, wouldn't it be funny if, but then I realized that only time the Yankees are going to come out on top is if Derek Jeter, gifts them the trade. So I kind of answered my own question there, unfortunately. So I mean,
it's been a crazy weekend so far.
It has. On top of that, Clayton Kershaw gets a loss.
Well, I mean,
or did Joe Panic get a win? I mean,
I think Joe Panic got 2 wins in a row. One off Kenley Jansen, one off Clayton Kershaw.
Very true.
With 2 long ball exclamation points, one early, one late. It was fun to watch. I mean, the Dodgers came back and annihilated the Giants in the next 2 games, as I expected them to do in the first 2, which really shows me that the 3, 4, and 5 pitchers in the Giants rotation, not pitchers.
Well, I mean, and we discussed that last week. Obviously, before you had to head to Indiana, with Shark being out and Nad Bum too, that certainly hurts. But hey, man, Ty Block looked great on opening day for being a young kid. I mean, that has to give you a lot of good feeling. And hey, the Pittsburgh Pirates are leading the Major League Baseball standings at 4-0. Nationals right behind them at 3-0. And how about having multiple games already that have been postponed because of weather? It's just been odd. Thankfully, haven't been postponed due to sewage. So back to our discussion. We opened up the show. I talked about the unwritten rules of baseball maybe having been broken, but we're not really sure because this unwritten rule hasn't yet been written down in the unwritten rule book.
Now, hold on. There are a lot of unwritten rules in baseball.
Hey, now.
I mean, I mean, let's the big one, the very big one, the number one rule in baseball is if your pitcher's having a day, you don't talk about it. You don't say anything to him. You don't say anything. You definitely don't say the P word or the N word. Well, you never say the N word.
Say the N word.
You never say the N word. The NH phrase. Right? You never say no hitter in the dugout. You never say no hitter on TV. You don't say perfect game ever. You don't steal bases when you're up by a whole bunch of runs.
If you hit two home runs back to back, you take the next pitch automatically.
Right. Yep. You don't steal bases when you're down by a bunch of runs. It makes your team look bad. I mean, that one base isn't going to help you. So what's the point?
Yeah.
You never steal third base.
You don't run across the pitcher's mound. Just
never, ever walk on the pitcher's mound unless you are a pitcher or catcher. And even if you're a catcher, you only go on the pitcher's mound to talk to the pitcher.
You stay the hell away from the home plate circle until your time to get in the box during warm-ups.
Never make the first or last out at third base.
Very true.
That's a big one, right? If a pitcher hits a guy on your team, then somebody on their team's going to wear one. Don't watch a home run. Here's the big one, right? Here's the one I think is most important and most relevant to us.
Okay.
You never break up a perfecto or a no-no with a bunt.
At what point? I think that's the key. At what point? Seventh inning?
Seventh inning, eighth inning. Once you get to the point where you know it's a loss, right? If you're down 10 runs,
so a 1-0
runs in the fifth inning.
Fair. A 1-0 game, everything's fair.
Yep, everything's fair. Unless there's 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth. If it's 1-0, 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth, you don't bunt at that point because you're not bunting to be competitive. You're bunting to take away an achievement.
Right. Well, here's the crazy thing. And I know this is going to kind of it's probably going to blow your mind a little bit. And to be fair, it is it's a little wordy, just a little wordy. But there is apparently been a new addition into the unwritten rule book. Don't bunt to beat the shift in the ninth inning during a one-hitter when you're trailing by 7 runs.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and scratch that out of the unwritten rule book because it's stupid. First of all, if you're the team on defense who's up by 7 runs and you still think that it's a competitive enough game that you need to be in the shift in the ninth inning, then you can't get mad at them trying to beat the shift in the ninth inning. That's ridiculous. And you know who's complaining about it? It's Brian Dozier. I don't understand. He's a veteran guy. You know what he said? He said, I would have said something to him on second base, but they got a veteran leadership over there. The reason you shouldn't have said something to him on on second base, Mr. Dozier, is because it doesn't make any dang sense. What's the point of telling him not to bunt? He's trying to start a rally in the ninth inning. You were in the shift. You're obviously trying to stop one. Right. Can you really blame him for trying to get on base? He already had the one hit of the game that broke up the no-hitter with his double in what was a double in the third inning. So,
and here's the weird. I mean, Jose Barrios says, "quote I don't care if he's bunting. I just know it's not good for baseball in that situation. That's it." What the hell about it is not good? Because
I think it's great for baseball.
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you how a one-hitter finishes up in the column. W. There's no fanfare. There's no car. Well, there's one time that a one-hitter has had fanfare and he got the car. whole different scenario as to why it was a one-hitter and not a perfect game. In this case, who in the hell cares?
Well, and here's the thing. Like, famous one-hitters of history. Name one. Yeah, dead air. I can name a one-hitter that meant something to me in 2010. Tim Lincecum threw a 14 strikeout one-hitter against the Braves in the postseason to sort of ice that divisional series and send on to the next round where they eventually won the World Series. But I only know that because I'm a Giants fan.
So Brian Dozier tried to clarify.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because somebody said basically the same thing. If you felt the lead was safe, don't shift. And Dozier said, quote, "When they didn't hold our runner on, they conceded to the fact they didn't want us to steal, so we didn't steal. We could have very easily stolen and put up more runs. So therefore, in return, you don't bunt. That's what everybody is missing in this whole thing."
No, Brian, what everybody's missing in this whole thing is that you're obviously experiencing some sort of early onset dementia, because that is, without a shadow of a doubt, the most stupid thing I've ever heard. I award you 0 points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
I like that.
Nowhere in that rambling, incoherent response did you even approach a logical answer.
A wrap. But you're
either way.
But you're.
And here's the thing. What Brian Dozier and a lot of people in baseball are sort of missing in this whole thing, if you really want to know what people are missing, is if teams played more small ball, like bunting against a shift, there would be a whole lot less shifting.
Right.
Because you don't know what the team's going to do.
Exactly.
So I applaud the use of small ball in this situation. I applaud the use of small ball in any situation.
You know, on the same respect, there's a ball club out there that is talking about, we talk about beating the shift, right? Trying to kind of take back the infield, take back the shift, try and get guys to play you straight up, right? Kind of get them off of doing what's going to gain them an advantage. The New York Mets have said openly that they plan to at least do their best to lead the league in a very innocuous stat, I guess.
I don't know that it's innocuous. It's kind of frightening.
Yeah, I suppose so. They, I'm thinking the stat, they want to lead the league in the most hit by pitches. Now, granted, there is a very important aspect to this. Yes, this is a great headline grab. What? They want to lead, they're going to throw at guys. No, they're not looking to throw at guys. But Mickey Callaway...
They're looking to throw in.
Yes, Mickey Callaway is a former pitching coach. Obviously, was a pitching coach for the Indians. A fantastic pitching coach who's now the skipper of the New York Mets. And he is tired of having hitters dive across the plate. So pitching coach Dave Island has said, don't let hitters get comfortable. When you're pitching, you have to be feared. He said, that's one stat I hope we lead the league in, and that's hit batters.
I'd just like to point out one thing about this story that sort of correlates to our last story.
Uh-huh.
That is also an unwritten rule of baseball. Hit the ball where it's pitched. If the pitch is outside, hit the bloop single. Don't try to overextend yourself. That's an unwritten rule of baseball. I mean, it's one of the rules. If the pitch is inside, hit in the gap. If it's low, try to hit it in the gap. If it's inside, come around on it. If it's outside, don't dive over the plate after it. Try to hit the bloop. That is an unwritten rule of baseball.
I like, he said, we're not headhunting. we're not trying to hit guys, but we're pitching them off the plate and they're diving. So I get what he's saying, and yeah, guys I see how many high school players wear the elbow guards and whatnot. They've had one hit by pitch so far, but I mean they're also 2-1. I don't know, man. I'm not totally pissed off at hearing it. It's kind of refreshing.
I kind of like it, to be honest. I mean,
shout out to Sergeant Abel. Shout out to Sergeant Abel on that. Very refreshing.
I don't necessarily want to see them hit guys, but I like the idea of coming in on guys.
Yeah,
keep them honest.
Take back the inside.
Yeah,
why not?
Keep the hitters honest. That's my thing. You got one thing I've noticed. And I don't know if you've noticed this as an umpire, but I've noticed this as a ball player, is these guys are really, really crowding that plate lately.
Oh, all the time. Catcher goes inside, and I've got an elbow. I mean, I've got such a small window to try and track that baseball. Trust me, man, I see it a ton. It is very frustrating.
And the only way you can keep those hitters honest, to be, in my opinion, is come in at them.
Chin music. Yeah, you have to.
I mean, don't throw at them.
Right.
But brush them back.
Right.
Nothing wrong with that. Control that 4 or 5 inches inside of the plate.
Right.
Own it. And if you're going to miss in.
Yeah. It's a lot harder to have a mistake on you when you're missing. I mean, to get a guy who's crowding the plate, get himself turned around, keep his hands in and get the barrel of the bat on that baseball is a lot harder than missing out.
Right.
So,
right. Which is exactly what Joe Panic did on Clayton Kershaw's inside pitch. Just turned on it and crushed it.
So let's go ahead, man. We are right near the tail end of the show. We've talked about it. We've teased it. We've skipped it. We've had a ton of stuff. Let's go ahead and talk about the American League West.
All right. This is going to be short.
It is.
Astros all the way, baby.
Pretty simple. Angels still sitting at 3-1. Trouty didn't have a great opening day, but he already, he's kind of, it's opening day. It's early on. Shohei Ohtani, a hit in his first at bat, a win during his first start, which means if it continues his trend, an All-Star in his first eligibility, a Cy Young in his first year, and a Silver Slugger, right? And MVP.
I like it. I think that's exactly what we need to pile on top of Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah,
is all of those expectations. No, I think that it's enough that he becomes the first player since 1930 something for whose starting pitching appearances in his first appearance in a major league game. I think that it's refreshing to see a guy that plays both sides of the ball. Very refreshing to see a guy who plays both sides of the ball. I think that the novelty is going to wear off soon, and this guy's going to be a starting pitcher probably by June.
They certainly need the pitching depth.
Yeah. But I think it's all going to be a moot point because the Houston Astros are winning this division probably by 15 games.
Yeah, they had that whole, Garrett Cole thing.
Yeah, Garrett Cole. What's that other guy's name? Verlander.
Yeah, it's a stupid. It is a stupidly good rotation.
Yeah.
The Rangers, I hold no hope for. I get they don't have much to work with. Odor needs to produce this year, even if the team is struggling. If anything, just try and get him off your books.
Right.
I think Jeff Bannister is doing all he can with what he has. I would expect Cole Hamels to probably, be one that they look to move. Only so much you can do on a team like that. The Oakland A's, I get that they're 1-3. Oakland is a team that I think is a sleeper team. And I know I said the same thing about the Phillies, and I'm going to give you two hot takes here.
To be fair, you did say that the Phillies were a sleeper team only if they don't get outmanaged by their rookie manager.
And that is going to be my hot take. If this trend of miscommunications continue, Gabe Kapler will be fired before the All-Star break.
I like it.
We saw Ryan Sandberg resign mid-season. This ball club has the ability to be good. Jake Arrieta should make his debut, I believe, on the 7th of April. This ball club can be good. The A's can be good. This is not a being outmanaged. Bob Melvin is a good, long-time, veteran, respected manager. They have a team of very young talent with some huge bats. They have the ability to, in the next, I would say, 2 or 3 years, what's going to hurt them is they're in a division still with the Astros. But they have the ability, I think, in the next 3 years to compete with the Astros if they can get enough, the pitching pieces in place, and they can get this roster to really start to gel on the power side. You're going to start seeing the A's up there in the upper part of that division.
All right. Now let me tell you a story about the Oakland Athletics.
Oh, story time. Pull up a chair, folks.
And why that's never going to materialize. The Oakland A's are undoubtedly owned by the worst, most miserly people on the planet. They will not spend the money to keep their young talent once they get past their rookie contracts. They will not spend the money to get arms in place to bolster that pitching rotation. They will not spend the money to fix O.Co Coliseum. They will not spend the money to build a new Coliseum. My hot take is that if the Oakland Athletics are still in Oakland in 5 years, I'll be shocked.
Fair enough. Dude, King Felix surprised us, though.
King Felix didn't surprise me.
Huh?
I like Felix Hernandez. I like him a lot. I was in Seattle when he became King Felix.
Right.
And I was living there when he threw his perfect game. And so I developed kind of a strong sort of respect for Felix Hernandez. And I think that watching what he did in spring training, bouncing back from that comebacker that caromed off of his spine, and going on to actually have some dominant spring training outings, I think that I was sort of expecting him to do well. Now, to be honest, I was not expecting him to hold Kluber the way he was able to hold Kluber.
Right.
I think he did a fantastic job.
Nelson Cruz got a hold of a mistake, and that's all it took. And how about Ichiro robbing a home run at 43 years old?
But that's Ichiro, man. That's Ichiro, man.
Bro, all right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lay some facts on you, okay? I'm sorry, 44.
The ESPN guy said it. The ESPN guy said it 3 or 4 times, and I think that they were pretty succinct about it. We have had, over the last dozen or so years, a handful of guys come over from Korea and Japan that were all hyped up to be the next big thing, right? The Hideo Nomos and the Chano Parks and the Hideki Matsui's, right, and the Tanakas and all these guys, right?
Right. Fair enough.
One guy has really been everything he was hyped to be, and that was Ichiro Suzuki. In my opinion, Ichiro Suzuki is, without a doubt, the most successful Japanese transplant player to Major League Baseball, and I think that he will go down as the most successful ever.
Oh, I mean, at least, yeah, undeniable. I mean, at least for now. But I mean,
unless Shohei Ohtani lives up to his hype.
But I'm just going to throw this out there, right? You're what, 30, 35, 36?
I'm 35. Thank you. Okay. for adding another year to my life when I just turned 35 2 months ago.
No problem. I don't keep track of your age, man. How old am I?
32.
31.
Oh, cool.
So see, I took a year away. You gave me a year. It all balances out in the end. But here's the point. Do you really think that in the next 9 years you can walk your happy ass out to a center field wall, let somebody hit a ball, and you're going to just jump up and rob it?
Bro, I can't do that now.
Exactly my point. 44 years old, Ichiro's still committing thievery.
I like it, man.
Well, you know what? If he does that again, he could demand a shrubbery.
He could. He could demand a shrubbery. Now, I do want to give you the hot take from my friend Jason, who is my resident Seattle Mariners fan, lifelong fan of Seattle Mariners.
Are we having a Jason Whitsitt moment on the show? Whitsitt. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. Look, I'm going to go ahead and give him the Whitsitt name just because he named his damn fantasy football team Wham Bam Thank You Graham. Okay.
He did. It was hilarious, to be fair.
It was. Now, smaller portion.
Now, I recently messaged Jason, and I said, Jason, how about the M's taking 2 or 3 from the Tribe? And he said, and I quote, now this is a huge amount of optimism from, admittedly, an M's homer, so prepare yourself. They did this last year.
Hang on, folks. If you have kids nearby, you might want to have them step away. This kind of optimism could be dangerous.
He said, I quote, they did this last year. They always do this. They'll be just good enough to barely miss the playoffs for the 18th year in a row.
Well played, sir. And on that note, you have our AL West breakdowns. There is not a question. Yes, it is going to be the Houston Astros taking that division. Not much fanfare. They're just gonna, I got asked the other day. I had a chance to come on a local radio show, talk a little baseball, and they asked me, so what do the Astros have to do to win the division? I said, play. Just show up to the yard.
Show up?
Yeah. Step in that little rectangle thing. Put the stick out there.
Swing that.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a lot of fun to watch, though.
It is.
Realistically, as good a team as the Angels are probably capable of being, I have them at 88 or 89 wins this year, which is 8 or 9 up from where they have been. I think some of the additions they've made in the offseason.
You think the Upton thing really helps them?
I think the Upton thing helps. I think Trout coming back healthy and ready to play is good for them. I think Shohei Ohtani is probably good for 12 wins as a starting pitcher and maybe some help with the bat. I think that Pujols playing every day when Ohtani's going to be a DH is going to help Albert sort of get back into feeling like he's a member of this team again. I don't know that is going to help him.
I disagree there, man. If his feet are still messed up, having Albert play every day is not going to be helpful to that ball club. It's going to put him out a lot more than he's in.
We'll see how Albert Pujols manages the whole in-step pain thing. But I think that this team is going to win, probably not double digits more games than they won last year, but they're definitely going to be at least 7 games over 500, 6-7 games over 500 this year. Unfortunately, the American League is a strong league. And being in the Astros division means that they're going to be battling for wild card slots against teams that are just better than them.
They are, and I'll close on this with you because we discussed this, and here's my concern. Last year there was talk. I know Joe Buck mentioned it, and we kind of whatever. And granted, he wasn't wrong. The second wild card really makes baseball watchable to the casual fan the entire year. Without it, man, it is very possible that at minimum, half of the divisions in Major League Baseball will be wrapped up by the time Gabe Kapler's fired. I mean, by the time the All-Star break rolls around. Okay? It is possible that by the time the All-Star break rolls around, half the divisions are going to be wrapped up. So, I hope it stays competitive. We've seen enough additions with the Brewers, with the Angels. We have 2 teams in the East. The great thing right now is that almost really every division has at least 2 teams that should be able to compete at a high level for the number 1 slot. And I think that helps, except for the NL East. And the NL East is a crapshoot.
Realistically, if the Twins can put their handkerchief away and pull on their big boy jockstrap, they're going to be battling for a wild card spot, in my opinion, too, assuming that they can repeat and improve upon what they did last year.
Well, but my point is, I think you have almost 2 teams in every division, save for probably the National League East, that can compete for the divisional title. Obviously, the Red Sox and the Yankees, duh. The Indians and the Twins. The White Sox aren't there yet, but they're, like you said, they have a lot of young talent. They're making their way. I still don't think the Angels are going to be able to compete with the Astros. The Astros are just too strong. It's the injury bug. We'll see what happens by rule of attrition. The Nationals are going to win the National League East. That is already a given just because of the lack of depth in that division. You play the Marlins, a good chunk of your schedule. The Brewers and the Cubs should be able to go, at a pretty good clip with those additions of guys like Yelich and Kane. I'm at this point with you. I think the Cardinals are on their way done. I'll be interested to see what Mike Matheny's future holds here this year at the end of the year. And the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks have looked good. Again, still, I still think, like you said, they will probably need to find a bat somewhere throughout the year. And who knows? I don't think the Giants, like you said, are going to have enough. But, man, there's a possibility if Block can do it, and who knows? So I think overall we should have at least enough stuff to keep it pretty good. So, man, great show. A ton of stuff, really, that we've had going on. Going to be a lot of fun throughout the year. Second week of the season is on its way. We'll have a ton of stuff coming at you next week. Hoping to have a couple more guests coming by. Thank you all again so much for your support last week of the show, Dale Scott interview. Hope y'all enjoyed it. It seemed to get a great reaction from you guys, so we are always appreciative. Have yourselves a great week. Enjoy some baseball. Guys, for Chris, I'm Graham. Everybody here at the Grueling Truth Network, have a great week, and we will see you back here on Out of Left Field.